And guys, here the best move for white is to grab the pawn on b4. Because if knight takes b4, now white can develop his knight to c3, wasting a developing move for black. And let's say if black decides to castle, now comes d4, targeting the pawn on e5. And if e takes d4, knight takes d4, d5. And in the next move, white can bring his rook to b1, which is going to target this knight. But in the game after this move, here Zurab decides to play d4. He directly strikes in the center. Okay, so here Kasparov decides to exchange the knight, but guys, instead of this move, it's better for black to consider capturing on e4. Why? Because after bishop takes e4, now black can castle. And if bishop to g5, if he tries to pin the knight, then h6, attacking the bishop. And if bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, creating an immense pressure on the knight. And if bishop takes e6, b takes c6, knight takes c6, attacking the queen, but queen to b7, attacking the knight again. Knight takes b4, but now comes bishop to h3, attacking the rook as well as threatening mate in 1. So obviously to defend this, white has to lose his rook. And guys, just wait. In the upcoming moves, you are going to see something deadly. Just wait for that. Okay, so in the game after knight takes e5, okay, so now Kasparov brings his bishop to e2, attacking the rook. But guys, in this position, Zurab, instead of defending the rook, he plays knight to d2, completely giving up the rook. And the idea behind this move is, let's say if Kasparov decides to capture on f1, after rook takes f1, and just look at the engine. I mean, it's saying that this position is equal. And the idea behind this is, first of all, white has this amazing bishop pair. Second thing is, white also has a strong central pawn on d5. And the third one is, look at the space occupied by the white pieces. I mean, all these, things makes this position equal for white. So that's why after knight to d2, here Kasparov instead decides to play knight to d3. He is now attacking the bishop as well as simultaneously targeting the rook. And guys, in this position, Zurab plays an absolutely brilliant move. Instead of defending the rook, he defends the bishop to e3. I mean, why? Black can just capture the rook on a1. But if this happens, after rook takes a1, despite being a rook down, this position is still better for white. Because first of all, both the black rooks are, not participating in the game. I mean, as you can see, white rook is more active than the black ones. And the second thing is this amazing, bishop pairs. And the third one is this strong passed pawn. And finally, look at the space occupied by white pieces. So now I think you all can understand that why this position is better for white. And I know some of you might be thinking of queen to f6, which, targets the rook, but rook to b1. And in the next move, you can see knight to e4 is coming. Okay, so in the game after bishop to e3, so here that's why after seeing all of this, Kasparov doesn't, capture the rook. He instead plays rook to c8, preparing for rook to c3. But guys, seriously, Zurab is, playing like a madman. I mean, he brings his rook to e1. I mean, what the heck is that move? And guys, his idea is, let's say if Kasparov decides to capture the rook, then rook takes e1, attacking the bishop. So this bishop has to move, and let's say if it goes to g4, then knight to e4, preparing for bishop to g5. So to stop this, if h6, then bishop takes a7, and in the end you can see white has these amazing queenside pawns supported by these two powerful bishops, an active queen and the rook, and also the knight. That's really amazing. Okay, so in the game, after rook at f goes to e1, so that's why Kasparov understands that, and he instead decides to capture on a1. And Zurab recaptures with the rook to e8. Kasparov brings his rook to e file. And you know what his intention behind this move? I mean, let's say if white is not careful and he plays any move, like say if he tries to expand on the queen side. In this position, Kasparov prepared rook takes e3. I mean, wow. The idea is if f takes e3, queen to f6, attacking the rook as well as preparing for queen to f2 check. And let's say if white decides to defend his rook to b1, then queen to f2 check, king to h1, knight to e1, threatening mate in 1, and if bishop to h3. And guys, the next move is so cool that, I mean, what to say? Bishop to g4, trying to deflect the bishop so that he can mate the king on g2. And there is now no way to save this game. I mean, even if white captured the knight, then the crazy part is there is no need to even capture this rook. I mean, the best move for white is, black is to just grab this bishop on h3, threatening bishop to g2 mate or either queen to g2 mate. I mean, what can I say, guys? And if rook to g1, rook to c1. Guys, I'm losing my mind. The main idea is to, deflect the rook so that he can mate white king on g2. So that's the main idea of Kasparov. Okay, so in the game, after rook to e8, here Zurab plays bishop to d4. And his idea is to keep an eye on the king side. But the problem with that move is now Kasparov immediately brings his queen to g5. So, so attacking the knight. So obviously, Zurab defends with bishop to c3. But guys, in this position, you know what Kasparov played? Just pause the video and try to find it by yourself. And guys, in this position, he plays knight takes f2. And his idea is if king takes f2, then queen to e3 check, king to e1, bishop to d3, a discover check by queen, so king to g1, a d1, and finally queen to e1 checkmate. So that's why after knight takes f2, he plays knight to f1, so that black can't give a check from e3 square. Bishop takes f1, rook takes f1, attacking the knight. But guys, in this position, Kasparov plays another god level move, queen to e3. And his idea is if white captured the knight, then rook takes c3, attacking the queen. If queen to b2, rook to c1 check, bishop to f1. And now, okay, so just pause the video and try to guess the next move which Kasparov has prepared. And guys, the move is rook to e5. Sorry guys, I'm really stunned. What to say? I mean, this game just makes me speechless. And you can see the intention of Kasparov. He wants to play rook to f5, creating immense pressure on the rook. Okay, so in the game, after queen to e3, here Zurab goes for bishop to e1, attacking the knight as well as asking for queen exchange. But And in this position, the final move by Kasparov is h4, and here Zurab resigned. What a game by both players. Guys, just imagine their levels. I'm not saying that only Kasparov played this game very beautifully. I mean, just imagine how Zurab, just gives up his rook again and again. I mean, that's amazing. Like this video, and I will see you in the next one. This is your host Bison signing off. Bye bye.